Welcome. In this lecture, we'll discuss the role of Unreal Engine's online subsystem class and how it contains several interfaces which have capabilities related to multiplayer game sessions. We'll dive deeper into the Sessions interface, an interface designed to handle setting up and joining game sessions, and we'll form a game plan for how we would like to use this interface to get our game connected and playing with other players. So let's talk a bit about the online subsystem. The online subsystem provides a way to access the functionality of online platform services. By online platforms, we mean things like Steam and Xbox Live and so on. Each of these platforms has its own set of services, support for things like friends, achievements, setting up matchmaking sessions, etc. The online subsystem contains a set of interfaces designed to handle these different services for each platform. Since we can use the online subsystem to handle our use of these interfaces, no matter which service we choose, all we must do is configure our project for a particular platform. We do this in one of our config files, the engine.ini file. We specify the default platform service in that file like this. We'll go over this process together very soon. The online subsystem is a class of type iOnlineSubsystem, which can be accessed through the static function get that belongs to that class. This returns a pointer to the online subsystem of type pointer to iOnlineSubsystem. Once we have that online subsystem, we can access the different interfaces that we mentioned earlier. The interface that we're most concerned with at the moment is the session interface. The session interface handles creating, managing, and destroying game sessions. It also handles searching for sessions and other matchmaking functionality. A session can be thought of as an instance of the game running on the server with a set of properties, and a session can be advertised so other players can find the session and join in, or private so only people with an invite can join the game. The basic lifetime of a typical game session looks like this. First, you create the session with a set of desired settings. Then, you wait for other players to join and register each one as they come in. Once enough players join, you start the session. Then, each player is in the same session playing the game. Once the match is over, you can end the session and unregister the players. You then can either update the session, changing the settings for the match, such as switching from a free-for-all match to capture the flag, or you simply destroy the session. We are only going to concern ourselves with a few of these for now. The functions on the session interface that we care about are create session, find sessions, join session, start session, and destroy session. We can get a working game put together by just using these functions. So let's discuss how we're going to do that. Our goal is to be able to click a button on the menu of our game. For now, let's just assume that we have two menu buttons, Host and Join. When the player clicks Host, our code will configure the session settings and then call the session interface function createSession. Once this is done, we can open the lobby level and wait for other players to join. Then, when someone else starts the game and clicks Join, we'll configure some search settings, a set of properties that will help filter out any game sessions that we're not interested in joining, and then we'll call the interface function findSessions. This will return some search results, and we'll iterate through those results and pick a valid session, so we can then call the session interface function joinSession. Once we've done this, we'll be able to get the proper IP address that we can use with the client travel function. We'll then use this function to travel over to the other player's listen server and join the lobby level with them. Now, we're going to place all this functionality into its own neat little class designed for handling these session-related features, but we don't want to get overwhelmed with creating all these new classes just yet. For now, we'll simply just access the online subsystem from within the character class and call these functions there just to see how everything works. Once we have an understanding of how to use the online subsystem and its session interface functions, we'll then create our own class for handling these things, and we'll design it so that it can be used in any game that we wish to use it for. So in the next video, we'll create a new project and configure it for the Steam platform. That way, any functions we call in the session interface will automatically hook up to the Steam platform and access its online session services. We'll then access the online subsystem from within our character class and print some text to the screen to make sure that we've successfully connected to Steam. So, in summary, we learned a bit more about the online subsystem and how it contains interfaces that have all the functions necessary to connect to some service on the online platform that we choose, and that we're most interested in the session interface for now, which contains all the functions needed to set up and manage game sessions. We then formed a game plan for our game that we'll be using as a guide as we set up our session code, and we're going to start using these session-related functions in the character class as we're just getting to know how they work, and then we'll make our own class dedicated to handling game session-related functionality. I'll see you soon.